behind time, but we want to be as prompt as possible, so we'll start now with the reading of the psalm. And after we don't chant the psalm, we'll have Brother Levy to say a prayer, a Christian prayer also. And then we have the national anthem, and then the first presentation by Sister Mills. And we know as the program go on, the other contributors will come through as they promised. But we are here this afternoon to celebrate or to highlight a significant event that took place some 78 years or more ago, when our ancestors decided that if they could no longer take the oppression no more, and they stood up for what was a genuine cause then and still a genuine cause today, for their rights to be treated much better by their masters. We will start with Psalm. I was glad when they said unto I and I, come let us go into the house, living I, Eli, Selassie, King Rastafari. I will teach us stand within thy gates, O Ethiopia. Ethiopia built a city which compact together, whether the tribes go it up, tribes to the Most High, Eli, Selassie, King Rastafari, unto a testimony of Ethiopia. We give thanks and praise unto the Most High, Eli, Selassie, King Rastafari. For they have set thrones of judgment, thrones of the house of black people. And they pray for the life of Ethiopia. And I shall pass the love by this Selassie. Love within thy wars and prosperity in thy palaces.
Mike
and thy praise and companions say, I know say love within thee.
God of the house of the living eye, Eli, Selassie, King Rastafari. And I see thy good. Eli, Selassie, King Rastafari.
Brother Livingstone now, you come and you say a Christian prayer and you open up this afternoon proceeding for the unity of I and I.
Good afternoon to everyone. Let us pray. Loving Lord, we want to thank you for this opportunity once again where we can come out and celebrate those who have gone on before us. We want to recognize those who are present this afternoon, those who are make the time to come here this afternoon and present a lot of stuff that we don't know, but we want to give them thanks for that, Father. We want to be the one that control this evening proceeding. Pray for those who are on the way. Pray for those who many years ago, about 10 years ago, see that we needed these things to continue to commemorate those who are gone on before us. Continue to be with us as we go through this evening proceeding is my prayer and praise holy name. Amen and amen.
Give thanks, Brother Livingstone, for the prayer. As we continue with our next item, which is the national anthem of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's sung by everyone here who know it. Sing if you know. Oh,
Land of beauty, our country where peace abound, thy children stand free on the strength of will and love. With God in all our struggles, St. Kitts and Nevis be a nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwart we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth, we will serve and honor thee. No sword or spear can conquer, for God will surely defend. His nation shall forever till posterity extend.
Aye. That's right. All be seated, please. As we continue in this Remembrance Day service, you know, we usually have Remembrance Day on November for those who fought in the great world wars of the colonial masters. But our Remembrance Day is right here in Buckley, where our ancestors, our martyrs, our people became martyrs just for us who are here today to enjoy life better than it was back then. So we cannot be ungrateful and turn our backs on such a heroic contribution. So this evening's first presentation will highlight and give you a roll back on what events were back then in 1935. We call to the podium Sister Mills to give our presentation. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you. The struggle. The struggle is part of our story. We will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to survive the Middle Passage, bound and fettered in chains, wretched in their own waste, we will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to survive the inflicted, back-breaking labor in the fields like beasts of burden, we will not forget it. The whippings, the lynchings, and the rapes, we will not forget it. The separation of fathers from mothers and children, we will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to be paid a fair wage for honest work when the shackles of enslavement were lifted from their shoulders, we will not forget it. To that struggle, which was started by our fearless female ancestors right here on this hallowed ground, I pour libation. We will not forget it. For it was from that struggle here at Buckley's which led to the workers' rights movement throughout the entire Caribbean. For that, we give thanks.
Yes.
We will not forget it. We are no longer a physically enslaved people, yet the struggle continues. We struggle today with a society that does not seem to care about our story. A society that appears to focus on physical and monetary fulfillment above all else, while ignoring the mental and spiritual development of our children. It has been said that a society that ignores its story is bound to repeat it. We know our story. We will not forget it. Today, as we remember and salute and pay tribute to the august men and women who participated in the Buckley's Uprising, whose sacrifice made it possible for us to demand and receive rights in our workplaces, we give thanks. We know our story. We will not forget it. Our numbers here today may be small, but our voices will be heard. We will persevere. We will continue to be the standard bearers in keeping the faith, as we honor the ancestors through whom we came and who made it possible so that others may come through us. For in time to come, we will prevail. We know our story. The struggle is part of our story. We will not forget it. The struggle is part of our story. Thank you.
Yeah. Because those words, I know the ancestors there in their spirits around us feel well appreciated, knowing that someone has reminded us that we will not forget it. To forget is to commit a cardinal sin. Because what took place here in Buckley's didn't only benefit the Rastas, as I said in the invitation letter. What took place in Buckley's benefited all the people of St. Kitts Nevis. It went to the Caribbean through the Moyne Commission, and the right to vote was won here by those here on the plantation. There was no right to vote by black people nowhere in the Caribbean until what happened here in Buckley. So every political party, every aspiring politician owe some form of gratitude to the people who stood here in Buckley on that afternoon in 1935. Because without those votes, there will be no election. And our people, by standing up here on the 28th of January 1935, forced their oppressors to recognize that they deserve a right and a say in what goes on in their life and in their country. And today, their deeds must be seen as something heroic. Not like how we only wait until probably a jam band and we gather in numbers. But if we were properly educated as a people, we'll be here in our hundreds today, because without the stand that was taken in 1935, where would we be? Will anybody tell you? Maybe we'll still be selected few in the ruling class or sitting in the chairs. But with that stand that was taken in 1935, our people began to get a say in the government and the governmental affairs of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla. And so we cannot be ungrateful. It's when we started this back a few years ago, we realized that such a heroic deed was neglected by the rest of society. And we owe it to be much more grateful than the rest of society. So we erect a small signboard first, and then we erect a bigger signboard, which is still down on the Bay Road, trying to educate our people about the importance of Buckley's and what took place here in Buckley's Yard in 1935. Because for years, such a great deed had laid dormant in the psyche of the Christian people. People afraid probably to speak about the act that took place in 1935. But with the coming of the consciousness of the Rastaman, we established that yes, the deed is something that we should all be proud of, and should we seek to highlight as part of our local tradition. Because we celebrate a lot of things that sometimes are not really physically endeared to us as a people. And so why not celebrate something that meant so much in our life? Because the right to vote gave us not just the right to vote, the right for better living within St. Kitts and Nevis. We didn't have to go over borehole for all our life. We didn't have to depend on anybody to feed us. We didn't have to beg land. We could afford to purchase land after a while. And so we, with that state of empowerment and that great sacrifice that was made in 1935, cannot do anything by coming out here today and saying thanks to those persons who were so willing to lay down their lives. I'll read a little thing here what I just got from a paper here from Lee. Let's give a round of applause, but Livingston is very instrumental in the whole Buckley celebration over the last 5 years. He's been videotaping it and putting it up on the net. And so persons will see this out here tonight. When they go on the website probably tomorrow, and he'll educate you on the website. And the timeline goes like this. In 1934, December Wade Estate paid the workers a Christmas bonus of $8 per ton of cane. Other estates paid only $3 per ton. A few estates refused to pay any bonus to their workers. In 1935, December, cane fields on several estates near Bastille were on fire. On the 20th, estate workers from all over the island attended a Universal Benevolent Association meeting called by J. Nathan, secretary, who advised them that since there would be no increase in the price of cane in 1935 crops, the planters would not be in a position to grant a wage increase, and that 1934 wages should be accepted. This advice was disappointing to many, and some left the meeting saying that UBA, the United Benevolent Association, had been bribed. Thomas Manchester attempted to persuade the estate to institute an annual bonus and to make the agreement public before the start of the crop. the planters refused to commit to this. The 26th January, the Daily Bulletin said, with regards to labor, at no time had the agricultural laborers been more satisfied with the treatment, according to him, than last year. And they in every confidence that he will receive the same terms and even better this year without coercion. On the 28th January, cane cutters at Buckley's estate asked manager E.D. Dowbridge, Mr. Dowbridge, I heard what he speak very passionate about him, for wages of $1 per ton. Dowbridge refused, and the workers went out on a strike. The strikers marched to Shadwell Estate, persuading the workers there to join them on the strike. Estate workers, led by a big drum, started to march to other estates. At about noon, the marchers, now numbering 300 or 400, arrived at Brighton. Mules and cattle, which were harnessed, were taken out and the workers' gears damaged to prevent any use being made of these carts. Right? On people here joining the march and the struggle. In the early afternoon, the march reached Lodge, other parts of St. Kitts now joining in. And the owner of Philip Todd informed the marchers that they were trespassing and told them to leave. Todd was struck down. He called for a shotgun. The marchers attacked him, broke his gun and beat him and forced him and his servants into the house. At Willets, the overseer was seized and ordered to produce a bill so that the workers' working gear of the carts could be disabled. Major Duke and 8 armed policemen overtook the marchers at Estridge, arrested 5 leaders. The crowd now numbering over 200 or 300. It was expected that following this incident, the crowd would disperse, but Major Duke was instructed to keep his men on the alert. On the 29th January, very few workers went out to work except at Estridge and Bellevue Estate. Another large demonstration was on the road heading west. At Sadler's, the crowd stopped outside the shop and ordered laborer Jonathan Moore to join the march. He refused and was struck on the head with a piece of metal piping. At West Farm Estate, workers were ordered to down the tools. At 3 p.m., a large crowd invaded Buckley's estate yard. Dowbridge warned them with his shotgun and then fired, hitting some with pellets. The crowd became infuriated. The police arrived on the scene and the strikers demanded that Dowbridge and Pond, his overseer, be arrested for shooting at them. At 5 p.m., Major Duke left the force to report to the governor and requested that he let out the defense force and his defense reserve. Magistrate Bell went into town and returned with Reverend Williams of the Moravian Church, Thomas Manchester, Victor Chan of the Workers' League, and Clement Malone, a member of the Executive Council. The crowd listened to Manchester's plea for order, and many left with him, but a large number remained behind at Buckley's. Forces were dispatched to Buckley's. At 6 p.m., the governor asked for the warship to be sent to St. Kitts from Bermuda and the reinforcement from the police force in Antigua. The riot act was read. Stone was thrown at the armed forces. From 6:15 to 7 p.m., the armed forces attempted to direct the crowd away from Buckley on the main road. The law enforcement was unable to control the crowd, and after repeating warning shots were fired, 3 men were killed and 8 wounded. At 9:30 p.m., all was quiet. 30th January at 2:30 a.m., the Lady Nelson arrived in St. Kitts with the addition of men from Antigua. In the morning, large bodies of men were still calling out on workers to strike. Cane fields in the vicinity of Bass was burned. On the 31st of January, the HMS Leader arrived in St. Kitts, and they always caption it with this thought: we wanted something for ourselves and for our children, so we took a chance with our lives. How brave was such a sacrifice? Let's give them a round of applause. And as we go on in the program, we see the Honorable Sam Conda is here, and we'll ask him to come and make his presentation now. Although he might not appear on the paper in that list, but as we wait the other presenters, then we'll ask the Honorable Sam Conda to come and grace us with his presence here. Welcome.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, see Dr. Francis here. Dr. Francis wishes to acknowledge you and the other folks. I want to say what a pleasure it is for me. The big guys. Cool. What a pleasure it is for me to be here joining with the brethren to celebrate what is really important national event in our history. And I see the director of Project Strong here as well, Mr. Phipps. Happy to have you here. I hope you will get an opportunity to tell your students at Project Strong. I know you had a very impressive graduation yesterday, and this is all part of our history which our students must be aware of. I've been coming here year after year on an annual basis to celebrate with the folks. This is mainly organized by the Bingi movement, and I'm particularly pleased to be invited here on an annual basis to celebrate. It is important to understand where we have come from, where we are, if we are to chart a course forward. Understand the theme for this year's celebration is the struggle, our story. Is that correct?
It's part of our story.
The struggle is part of our story. But I say the struggle is our story. That is what it's about. And so I'm particularly pleased to share in this. And I hope that this will act as an incentive to sensitize our general population and the people of this country about the importance of Buckley and what this means. In fact, it is interesting that we are having a celebration at a time when we have in the country a debate going on about the investing in the National Bank Lands Act, because this is what Buckley represents. Buckley is the beginning, is the movement where the whole idea of this consciousness for the liberation of our people started in 1935. Not only the political liberation, but the economic liberation. And that is why it was important for the late, revered, right excellent Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw came right here at Buckley's in January of 1975 to acquire the lands all the lands. And I want to read you a quote. I don't know if I could find it, but I want to read you a quote about the acquisition of the lands, because I think that is important, and that for me sums up what the land acquisition was about. It was about, I want to paraphrase because I can't find the quote just now, but I'm sure it's somewhere here, but I want to paraphrase what Bradshaw was saying in 1975. He said basically that we are gathered here to do the most important thing that any citizens of our country could do. That is to acquire for their benefit and for posterity all the really productive lands in the eyes of the board. He said there's nothing more important than that. In fact, he said that time that on his way to work on that morning, one of the comrades, Comrade Buckley, who was very close to Comrade Bradshaw, said to him that he was equating what was taking place in Buckley's that day to the emancipation of our people. That is how they saw it. So you would understand the importance and the significance of the land acquisition to our people. And that is why I find it extremely difficult to see, for anybody to take part in any act that would divest and to really batter the patrimony of the people of this country like that. And that is why I am particularly proud that we want to stand to make sure that that does not happen just like that. And this is what Buckley represents. Buckley represents that, the political and economic liberation of our people. I was listening to my friend here on Joni today, and he was saying that he don't want nobody, so I'm not going to say it. He don't want anybody to tell him that they're going to build a monument in Buckley. So I'm not saying that. That's one thing I'm not going to say today. You see, he's tired of hearing that. And really, I understand his frustration and his, disgust, because really it has been more talk than action. But I believe that one day it will happen. I believe that people are going to come to realize, and I believe what you're doing here is sensitizing people to that fact. I don't think a lot of people understand that, the significance and the importance of Buckley and what it means. The 1935 Uprising. Because that was not only an event that affected change, social, political, and economic change in St. Kitts Nevis, It was an event that sparked change right throughout the region. Right throughout the region. From Jamaica up in the north to Trinidad and Tobago down in the south, right throughout the region. It started all here in Buckley. And we have been known to be trendsetters and to be first in these kinds of events. And so that is why we should be extremely proud. And that is why we have to take these celebrations so that people can understand. This is part of the education process. This is part of the sensitization process. And it is not going to be an easy job. So we're going to hear it over and over because not everybody understands. People don't understand these things at the same time, at the same pace. We all learn and come to appreciate and understand things at different times. But we must not get weary in well-doing. This is important for us. This is important for us. In fact, they tell me that the Jews have a celebration once a year where they come together every year to pledge that they will continue to celebrate the day, whatever the day is. And every year they say, next year, going to be in Jerusalem. Some of them know, well, some of them may know that they're not going to live to see next year. Because that happens all the time. But next year, everybody plays that in Jerusalem. Because they know that is the tradition, that is what they have to understand, that is what they have to learn. That is what you have to pass on to generations to come. That is what it is about. That is what history is about. That is what the development of a people is really about. It's about education and sensitizing you to not only what has happened, but how that has affected your present situation and how it could affect the future. And so, I don't want this group to get discouraged or disheartened or frustrated. No matter how small the numbers are, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, it is important to spread the news and spread the message. The importance of it. And we have to say like the Jews, next year we're going to be coming back here. And next year is going to be bigger and better and brighter. And next year we will have some new converts to our cause. And you see, when your cause is a just cause, it can't fail. When your cause is a righteous cause, it can't fail. Because truth crushed to the ground will rise again. And so I want us to be patient and tolerant about what we're doing. Nothing that is worth fighting for comes easy. These things don't happen miraculously. It happens by long, hard slog and plowing and getting there on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. And this is what this is all about. And so I want to commend, I want to congratulate, I want to compliment all the folks who find it necessary and who think it's important to come on an annual basis to celebrate this. You will be surprised of the seeds you are sowing. Even though it mightn't look so to you, even though you mightn't believe that, you will be surprised that you are doing a job that you might not see the rewards today or tomorrow or next month or next year. But in the future, the distant future. And that is what the struggle is about. Struggle is not overnight. Struggle is about long, hard, patient, time-consuming efforts. And that is what it's about. And so I want to commend you all, to congratulate you all, to compliment you all for this important and worthy effort. And just to give a little bit of encouragement, you see that we have to not only come here on an annual basis, but when we leave here, that we make efforts, small efforts. Don't expect nothing grand or nothing miraculous, but small efforts. We cannot just go dormant after today and wait to come back next year. But on a systematic, organized, methodical way, make efforts. That is how you're going to get your achievement. To make organized, systematic, methodical effort to advance the cause. To each one teach one. Each one make an effort for his brothers and his sister and his neighbor and his friend at the workplace, at the place of recreation, or wherever we are, to every now and again to make sure that you make people aware. Aware. It is all part of our growth and development. A people without an understanding of the history, like Marcus Garvey said, is like a tree without roots. You can't grow, you can't prosper, you can't develop. And so I want to encourage you to continue this process in an even more systematic and improve and develop way. Not waiting for an annual basis, but on a daily basis to make people aware of the significance and importance of Buckley and to move this process forward. So thank you very much.
And we really appreciate the speech for its length and for its content also. But it was very inspirational. Yeah, we were a member of recent time, but the Tambour, who passed away recently, but the Zambo, and all the others who went on before and after, and who we consider as part of the struggle. Give thanks. Give thanks. They say the flowers that fall from the trees are to prepare the earth for a brighter and more glorious harvest. We don't have an encore performance by Miss Mills again. She come back and do Please Be Seated, her poem that she did earlier. And it is very inspirational. Miss Mills, we have bought this week also that we will lay this week later for the, in Buckley's yard for the martyrs then. So we want to really, this is something that we do every year. We purchase a weed and relate right here in the yard in Buckley's for our martyrs. Miss Mills, don't go, you'll be here right now.
No, I'm getting my...
The libation you want to pour.
Yes, my libation.
You want to say welcome to one and all once more to Superbing Innis. You see him getting in there, and he'll be on after the encore performance here by Miss Mills. I think that is something that some of you people who come of recent time missed in her presentation. It was very kind and very well spoken and also inspirational. So Miss Mills will come back and grace us with her presence. And I think that she want to do it especially from those who put it strong, you know.
Thank you. The struggle. The struggle is part of our story. We will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to survive the Middle Passage, bound and fettered in chains, wretched in their own waste, we will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to survive the inflicted, back-breaking labor in the fields like beasts of burden, we will not forget it. The whippings, the lynchings, and the rapes, we will not forget it. The separation of fathers from mothers and children, we will not forget it. The struggle of our ancestors to be paid a fair wage for honest work, when the shackles of enslavement were lifted from their shoulders, we will not forget it. To that struggle, which was started by our fearless female ancestors, right here on this hallowed ground, I pour libation. We will not forget it. For it was from that struggle here at Buckley's, which led to the workers' rights movement throughout the entire Caribbean. For that we give thanks. We will not forget it. We are no longer a physically enslaved people, yet the struggle continues. We struggle today with a society that seems not to care about our story, a society that appears to focus on physical and monetary fulfillment above all else, while ignoring the mental and spiritual development of our children. It has been said that a society that ignores its story is bound to repeat it. We know our story.
40 years of struggle. And it describes what happened in the 40 years between 1896, when you had the Portuguese riot, and 1935, when you had the Buckley's riots. I hope that we will try to understand so that we will not be guilty. We will not become victims, if you will, to repeating the same blind errors which earlier generations had been guilty of. There's a lot. And I want to make this appeal that you keep up your efforts and to express the hope that more of our people would become involved in learning more and more and more about our history. It is a fascinating history. Certainly some terrible things, some cruel things, some barbaric things took place. But it is out of that. It is the spirit of our ancestors who never gave in. They never surrendered. Whatever sacrifices they had to make, they made the sacrifices. Whatever sufferings they had to endure, they endured those sufferings. And one of the things I find as I try to research our history, one of the most compelling things to me is the optimism of those people who had emerged from a situation of slavery. They always had a hope that things must be better for their children. I ask a simple question. Do we feel the same way today? That we want to make things better for our children so that we pass on to them a heritage of which they can be proud? Because you see, as I reflect on our history, at this particular point in our history, we have to recognize that we run the risk of so dividing ourselves and destroying ourselves. And all of the guns of the colonials and all of the whips of the masses could never have achieved. We are doing to ourselves today what the plantation owners could not do. They could not break the spirit of our people. They were resilient. They were always optimistic in spite of whatever happened. They believed, yes, that they will rise again, and that they will be able to hand over to the next generation something of which they can be proud. So that we all have a duty to celebrate the spirit of our ancestors and try as hard as we possibly can to derive some of that spirit, the spirit of unity, which seems to be escaping us. Because at the end of the day, they recognize that without unity as a people, they could achieve nothing. It is for us to recognize that, yes, there will be struggle. We must all commit ourselves to the struggle of bringing about a better and brighter today and tomorrow. And I want to emphasize that in this day and age, we are not advocating any kind of violent struggle. We are saying, let it be a moral struggle. Let it be a spiritual struggle. Let it be an intellectual struggle, so that the best ideas will prevail. We will sit down and we let ideas contend, and the best ideas will emerge, and the best ideas we all will work together in order to advance, so that the future of our ancestors, of our children, the future of our children will be assured. I want to end as I began, by saying, yes, struggle is an integral part of our history. Do not give up the struggle. In this day and age, the struggle will be different. The nature of the struggle will be different. But we must never lose sight of the fact that we are moving towards a goal. And that goal is to ensure that today and tomorrow and the years to come will be better for our children and our children's children. So often I fear we give in easily. If it looks as if it's going to be difficult, then we are not in that. Count me out. But struggle is part of life. Struggle is part of life. And so we need to rededicate ourselves to the struggle. And we need to invoke the spirit of our ancestors, who recognized that, yes, they needed unity. They needed a good, sound, spiritual foundation, because without those two things, they could never succeed. And beyond that, they saw ahead of them the generations yet unborn, and they recognized, they devoted themselves, they dedicated themselves to making sure that what they passed on, the heritage which they passed on to the generations yet unborn, would be something which was worthy of them, and something which would make life better for the generations yet unborn. Again, my heartiest congratulations. Keep pressing on. You're doing a wonderful job in terms of making all of us more aware of our history and our heritage. And I hope that next year, this time, God's willing, we may have many, many more people taking part and celebrating the spirit and the sacrifice and the dedication and the heritage of our ancestors. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Babylon 400 years. I and I never yet cease the fire till Babylon wall fall down. I and I never yet cease the fire till Babylon walls burn down. 400 years in a Babylon, 400 years. Blood, sweat and tears. 400 years in a Babylon, 400 years. Small wages. I and I never yet see the fire till Babylon was fall down. I and I never yet see the fire till Babylon was fall down. 400 years in a Babylon, 400 years. And 400 days. 400 years in a Babylon, 400 years. I and I never yet cease the fire till Babylon was fall down. I and I never yet cease the fire till Babylon was fall down. Selassie, King Rastafari, give thanks and praises. As we proceed, a monument in Buckley's yard should have been here long before we had it. We have been promised one. UNESCO promised to build one here a few years ago. And I welcome, I invited the UNESCO directive from here, or the director of UNESCO locally, which is Mr. Antonio Maynard. He has not showed up. We have invited the SKN Youth Parliament. They have not shown up. These are persons who should have some interest in what goes on here in Buckley. The Honorable Sean Richards, the leader of the People's Action Movement, he has not showed up. These are persons who benefit from what happened here in Buckley. And so we think that we will go still and we will persist as we've been asked by Sir Purbin to persist and continue to reach out to ones and ones, even those from the St. Kitts Navy Street and